Hi, today we are going to do linear regression in sheets. I will walk you through our first data set. We are going to use our notes to plot the scatter plot, determine the regression equation, calculate expected values, calculate and plot residuals, and calculate R and R squared. First thing we need to do once our file is open is click on File, Make a Copy, and we are going to add our name to the end. OK. So this is now my copy of the data. In order to make a scatter plot, I need to first highlight my data set as such. From there, I'm going to go to Insert, going to go down to Chart, and in a moment, it'll give me some recommended charts. I'm going to skip recommendations, go straight to chart types because I know I want a scatter plot. So I'm going to scroll down till I get to scatter plot. Okay. So as we see right now, I have my two variables in the title up here. I have a legend over here that I am actually going to move over to the top, and I have all my data here. I am missing data axis labels, however, so those need to be added in. So I'm going to move my legend to the top. Okay. I need to scroll down. My horizontal data is my X, which was my weekly demand in thousands of gallons. So that's my horizontal. When I hit enter, it'll show up on my graph. I'm going to go to vertical and name it as well. So that's my Y, my average price per gallon in dollars. Enter, and now I have my axis there. The reason that the legend was moved to the top is I'm going to go all the way to the bottom, and where it says trend line, I'm going to change it from none to linear. So now I can see my trend line on my graph. Okay. I'm also going to change my label from custom to use equation. So now I also have my equation on my graph. Once my graph is how I want it, title, y-axis label, x-axis label, trend line shown, trend line equation shown, I'm going to press insert. I'm going to grab my graph using the hand function and move it over to the place graph here box. Resize it a little bit so it fits. Okay, and there we go. There's my scatter plot. From there, I need to figure out what my expected values are. So we have our equation right here that we can use to calculate our expected values. How we're going to do that is we're going to set up a Google Sheet formula. So we're going to start with equals, and we're going to type in negative 0.04, because that's my slope over here, times, but I want a number for x instead of a letter. So I'm going to go over to the observed x, which was in column A, and click on it. So it's going to pull whatever number is in column A and place it in the x spot. And I'm going to continue typing my formula from there. So I shall type plus 7.068 and hit enter to calculate. So that is my expected value for a weekly demand of 85,000 gallons. The beauty of Google Sheets and Excel is once I have one formula plugged in, I can grab the corner right here and drag it down. And it'll repeat the same formula, but this time it's got the x-coordinate for this row, and then the x-coordinate for the next row, and then the x-coordinate for the last row. I'm also going to go down here so I have it for later interpretations and insert my y-intercept. Remember, regardless of how your computer or calculator works, the y-intercept is the number alone. So my y-intercept is 7.068. My slope is the number in front of the variable. So my slope here in this case is negative 0.04. In order to calculate my residuals, I'm going to set up another formula. So my formula is going to be equal to my observed Y, so my observed price, minus my expected price. Notice instead of typing them in, I clicked on their locations. When I press enter, Google Sheets will subtract them for me. Since I use locations, I can use the same trick for residuals, grab that bottom corner and drag it down. These are all my residuals. In order to plot my residual, so what we're going to do first is we're going to highlight our X variables, not pressing any keys, and then we're going to put our finger on the control key so that we can also highlight the residuals column. Once I have my X and my residuals highlighted, I'm going to go back to Insert, Chart. I'll get a couple of recommendations. I don't want any of those. Go to Chart Types, go down to Scatter Plot, and there's my residual plot. Again, I have a title I should probably change. It's not a very good title. I have a legend that's not very useful. I have one axis label and one is missing, so I need to customize this. So my title is going to be Residual Plot. Okay. My legend is not necessary. So let's click on Legend and hit None. I don't have an equation to display for this, so there's no reason to keep it. My axes labels. My horizontal label is still the same X as it was before, so it's going to be weekly demand in thousands of gallons. And hit Enter to insert it. And then my Y-axis, my left vertical, is going to be the residuals. So let's delete all this. Okay. Enter. So now I have the appropriate labels. I have an appropriate title. There's nothing else that needs to be done for this because I'm not going to do analysis of residuals. I don't want any sort of trend line. So I'm going to press Insert. Once I've inserted my residual plot, I can resize it a little bit, make it a little smaller, and then place it in the Place Your Residual Plot Here box. So I'm going to click on it and then grab it with a closed fist and place my residual plot in this location. All right, last but not least, we need to calculate our correlation coefficient R and our R squared value. To get the R value, we're going to type equals, because this is a formula, CORREL, so Pearson product monument correlation coefficient, important correlation coefficient. So that's the one I want. If I click on it, it opens a parenthesis for me. If I don't, I just add my own parenthesis. And I'm going to highlight the X values and then press comma and then highlight the Y values. It noticed that I had a heading, so my headings didn't affect it. You do not have to highlight the headings. You could just highlight the raw data. Either way, you get an R value of negative 0.7780, et cetera, et cetera. If you want less precision, you can go up to here and you can increase and decrease decimal places. So I could decrease the decimal places if I so desired to maybe 3 decimal places, or I could leave them all. In order to get R squared, I'm just going to square the R. So I'm going to set up another equation, so equal to, I'm going to click on R, and then I'm going to hit the caret, which is shift 6, and a 2 for squared. When I hit enter, it'll evaluate it. So I have an R squared value of 0.6053, blah, 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 blah. I can also decrease the decimal places here if I were so inclined to do so, to 3 decimal places. So I have a 0.605 R squared value. For the remaining 2 sheets, sheet 2 and sheet 3, you will repeat these same procedures on 2 different data sets. On the data set from the textbook on crawling age versus average temperature 6 months after birth, as well as the data set for the mini subcompact cars from the book. Good luck. If you have any questions, you know where to find me.